My name's Darren Wake, and I'm Head of Customer Success at CustomerSure. And I'd love to welcome Ian Golding. So Ian, I'm sure many of you know who Ian is. Ian's an extremely well-known CX consultant who helps companies the world over to improve customer experience, and he's extremely passionate about doing the right thing for customers and making big changes out there. Ian, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. I probably don't need to say much more, but it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And doing the right thing, again, it might sound a little bit evangelical, but actually, genuinely, that's what we want to do. That's what I do, that's what you do. And I think it's so important that we're able to share knowledge in this way with people that aren't being sold to, that they're just able to gather information that helps them to understand certain things. So as you say, I've got no idea what you're going to ask me. I can sort of try and guess, but I won't tell you what my guesses are. We'll see what that is afterwards.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for interrupting the video, but I'll be quick. Now, is your VoC program really making an impact, or are hidden gaps really holding you back? Take our free VoC maturity assessment to get instant insights and actions to improve your VoC program. It only takes 5 minutes and you'll be closer to take your VoC program to the next level. Click the first comment to find out more. Now, let's get back to the video. I wanted to raise with you is perhaps one some organizations do and some don't, which is, in order to, and I guess it closely linked to the previous 2 points, but in order to make improvements in customer satisfaction measures or whatever form, regardless of metrics, I need to set targets and bonus my staff members or teams based on the VoC data to help improve it along the way. Okay. I need to kind of offer some sort of targets or some sort of carrots, if you like, often through incentives or bonus schemes to encourage the right behaviours to get things better.
Okay, now that is a trickier one.
Yeah.
Now, it's tricky because can I say with confidence that is completely a myth? Well, let's come back to that in a minute. I completely agree with you. Some organizations incentivize VoC, some don't. And I do get asked a lot about the values of incentivizing it. Now, unfortunately, the execution of incentivization is the biggest challenge, because incentivizing anything means that those who are being incentivized will do whatever they think they can do to get the number that they're being incentivized on to go in the right direction. And if that means they can manipulate, they can gamify, unfortunately, human nature is that they will. There are many examples of organizations who, for example, when you are interacting with them, at the end of the interaction, they may say to you, oh, by the way, if you could please give me feedback, okay, and by the way, if you could give me a 9 or a 10, I'd really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, why are they doing that? They're doing that because they're being incentivized to get a high score. Mm-hmm. Now, again, it almost connects back, as you say, to the first question, because that then means that actually we don't really care about the feedback. What we care about is the score.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the score is irrelevant to the customer. And this is the point. This is what businesses need to understand. Your customer could not care less how much profit you make. Your customer could not care less what your NPS score is. What your customer cares about is, are you giving them what they want, what they need, when they need it, when they want it?
Yeah.
That's what they care about.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, incentivize the reason why I hesitate is that in some way that it's the right spirit, that in theory it's the right thing to do, but actually it's very difficult to incentivize without driving the wrong behavior. What I want people to think about is, if you're going to incentivize people to focus on improving the customer experience, if you really want that to deliver genuine, tangible change that's worth incentivizing, what you need to ask yourself as an organization is, what do we do with the feedback that we obtain? Every week, and in fact, I've done it again today, I ask businesses, how many times do you get told what organizations do with the feedback you give them? And honestly, in the last 13 years, I cannot count on two hands the names of organizations that tell their customers what they do with the feedback.
Yeah.
And the reason why we can't give these examples is because most companies don't do anything with it. And so for me, I would much rather organizations incentivize the action that's taken as a result, rather than the score itself. So, in other words, demonstrate what you've done in measurable terms that has improved the customer experience. So if the score goes up, I want to know, what have you done that has led to the score going up? Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. I agree with the point, because I think the spirit of putting an importance on customer experience and the importance of gathering feedback and making things better and giving it a target and some financial incentive at the end gives it an importance, and it shows to employees that this is a big deal and we want to do the right thing. But I totally take your point that it can be gamed, and funny enough, I was at a car dealership the other day dropping my car off to get it serviced, and when I picked it up, the guy did literally give me a bit of paper with it, you're going to get a link to a survey and you need to give me a 5 out of 5, otherwise we'll be in trouble, and then made a joke out of it. And I totally get where the lovely gentleman was coming from, but it's just the culture of that organization was then driving the wrong behaviors.
Exactly.
And then they're really just missing the point, because if they're just going to say to customers like me or you or anyone else, make sure you're giving the right score, or kind of gaining it in whatever way, or even selecting which customers they give it to, which often happens as well. I'm not going to send him or her a survey because I know they were dissatisfied or they were a grumpy so-and-so. So I'm going to, then it's totally kind of missing the point. But I think there's a place for, as you say, putting some importance and also encouraging the right behaviors of sharing. Your point about sharing feedback back to customers, this is the whole you said we did, you said we're going to do. It's not a new thing, that's been going around for decades, but it's still done some rarely, and that's a better activity. And actually say to my staff, look, I'm going to then target loosely or give you some reward on, then goodness me, you've gone back to your customer base and you've done it.
What difference have we made? Absolutely. You see, that the other thing that businesses need to understand is that feedback is subjective.
Yeah.
And people say this to me all the time. What I think is worthy of a 7, someone else might think is a 5.
Yes.
There are huge cultural differences in the way people give feedback. I've been told many times that Denmark, the Danes, don't recommend. Doesn't mean they don't like you. So again, if you're basing everything on a score, it is not going to reflect reality. But I'm not saying never do it, but I think if you are going to incentivize against the score, so it's not entirely a myth. So I'm sitting on the fence on this one. If you are going to incentivize it, firstly, I believe it's important that the whole organization is incentivized on it, not just customer-facing people, not just the customer experience team. The whole organization has to be incentivized on it, because that will lead to people saying, this has got nothing to do with me, but actually it does. It's got something to do with everyone. But if you're going to do that, I think you must back it up with, whatever incentive we're going to give is not just based on the score increasing, it's also based on the demonstration, some form of evidence of what's been done to tangibly, measurably improve the customer experience. Because we also have to remember that the environment that we live in and work in impacts these scores in the
Yes.
same way as it doesn't financially. If
Yeah.
you're in a global economic crisis, you're working with global conflict, scores are going to go down. And it's actually got nothing to do with the way you operate, potentially.
Mm.
So, this is why it's a very complex issue, and it needs to be treated very carefully. I think that this, again, is where I would always recommend that if you're not sure, speak to someone like Darren, speak to someone like me, explain the situation, and take guidance from people that specialize in this, that can advise you the most effective way of putting the right incentives in place that drive the right behaviors.
Yeah. I kind of echo that. I think that's it. Having something in place that raises the awareness, the importance of the customer voice, improving the customer experience across the organisation. And you're right, not just the frontline workers, but everyone in the business has a role on the customer's experience. That is to be applauded, and however, doing it the right way, and rather than just, it's a simple fix to say we'll just have a monetary bonus on
Yeah,
X points up on an NPS score. It's quite easy to just roll that out. However, there's a lot of bad practices that can emerge from that, and I think there's better ways that you can surface the importance of it and do the right behaviours, and still offer, reward and recognition and remuneration if that's what you want to do
absolutely.
to encourage it. And that's
Because
stuff that customers will notice.
that is an alternative, rather than this being connected to bonus in some way, build it into the performance management process of
Yes.
the organization.
Yeah.
So those who are genuinely driving improvements of the experience, they get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah. No, very good. Very good. I'd just like to say thank you everyone for watching these, and please give us your comments or your views. If you disagree with Ian, if you disagree with me, we'd love to hear what people have got to think. If you've got ideas that you've seen work well, when we're looking at NPS or VoC surveys or alternative ways to get feedback, and indeed talking about the use of bonuses as well. We'd love to know what you guys are working on, and any views, even if you totally think Ian and Darren are
Any
talking
other
nonsense.
myths? If there are any other myths that you think need to
Yes.
be busted, tell us.
Um, just like to say thank you very much, Ian, and please give us your feedback. And as Ian says, any other myths you'd like to use, please supply them in the comments, and we'll cover them next time. Thank you.
Thank you.